A single mother hiding in the frozen mountains, a mafia boss at her door with blood on his hands and a wedding ring in his pocket. One impossible choice: marry the monster who destroyed her past, or watch her daughter pay the price. Will Elena survive the man sent to kill her, or will she become the one thing more dangerous than his enemies? His wife. If you're hooked, stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this tale has traveled. The cabin sat like a forgotten scar on the mountainside, half buried in snow that hadn't melted in weeks. Elena Cross stood at the frosted window, her breath fogging the glass as she watched the tree line for movement. Nothing. Just wind and white and the kind of silence that made her skin crawl. 4 months. 4 months of this. 4 months of jumping at shadows and teaching her daughter to whisper instead of laugh. "Mama, can I have crackers?" Elena turned. Lily sat cross-legged on the threadbare rug, her dark hair tangled, her Disney princess pajamas 2 sizes too big. 4 years old and already she knew the rules. No loud voices, no lights after dark, no going near the windows. "Just a few, baby." Elena pulled the box from the cabinet, half empty now, like everything else. The propane tank was running low. The canned goods wouldn't last another week, and the cash she'd taken when she ran? Almost gone. She should have planned better, should have been smarter. But when you're fleeing in the middle of the night with a toddler and a duffel bag, strategy takes a backseat to survival. Lily munched her crackers, humming softly. Elena's chest tightened. Her daughter deserved better than this. Better than cold floors and rationed meals and a mother who flinched every time the wind picked up. But better wasn't an option. Not anymore. Not since Marcus. Elena's ex-husband's face flashed through her mind. Charming smile, easy lies, and a talent for destruction that had taken her years to recognize. By the time she understood what he really was, it was too late. He'd stolen from people who didn't forgive, people who didn't ask questions before they pulled triggers, and then he'd vanished, leaving Elena holding the bag. Or at least, that's what his enemies thought. She didn't know what Marcus had taken, didn't know where he'd gone, didn't care. All she knew was that the men who came looking weren't interested in her explanations. They wanted blood, payment, proof. So she'd grabbed Lily and disappeared into the kind of nowhere that didn't show up on maps. The wind howled outside, rattling the cabin's warped door. Elena checked the locks again, deadbolt, chain, the wooden brace she wedged under the handle every night. Paranoia had kept them alive this long. She wasn't about to stop now. "Mama, I'm cold." "I know, sweetheart." Elena pulled the blanket tighter around Lily's shoulders. "Just a little longer, okay? Spring's coming soon." Lily nodded, her trust absolute. It broke Elena's heart. She moved to the window again, scanning the darkness. The cabin had been a stroke of luck, a hunting lodge someone's grandfather had built decades ago and forgotten. No utilities, no address, no paper trail. The kind of place that didn't exist unless you already knew it was there. It should have been perfect. But lately, Elena had felt it, that prickling awareness of being watched. Twice in the last week, she'd found footprints in the snow that weren't hers, boot treads too large, too deliberate. Both times, they'd circled the cabin before disappearing into the woods. Maybe it was a hunter, maybe a hiker, or maybe her luck had finally run out. She forced herself to breathe. Panic wouldn't help. She needed to think, to plan. If they had to run again, she'd need supplies. A new location. Cash she didn't have. The sound of an engine cut through her thoughts. Elena's blood turned to ice. No, 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 no. She killed the lantern, plunging the cabin into darkness. Lily made a small sound of protest, but Elena pressed a finger to her lips. "Quiet game, baby, like we practiced." Lily's eyes went wide, but she nodded. Elena's heart hammered as she crept back to the window, staying low, staying hidden. Headlights cut through the trees. A vehicle, big, black, expensive, crawled up the old logging road that was supposed to be impassable this time of year. Someone had found them. Elena's mind raced. The back door. They could slip out, take the trail down to the stream, follow it to... The SUV stopped. The engine died. 2 men climbed out, their breath misting in the cold. They weren't dressed for hiking. Dark suits, polished shoes, the kind of men who looked wrong in the wilderness because they belonged to cities and boardrooms and places where people made problems disappear. Elena recognized the type. Marcus had introduced her to plenty. She grabbed Lily, scooping her daughter into her arms. "We have to go, right now." But before she could move, someone knocked on the door. Not pounded, not forced, just 3 measured knocks, calm and deliberate. Elena froze. "Mrs. Cross?" The voice was male, deep, and carried the kind of authority that expected obedience. "I know you're in there. I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't believe that for a second. "I just want to talk." Like hell. Elena's eyes darted to the back door. If she moved fast, if she was quiet— "There are 6 men surrounding this cabin," the voice continued. "If you run, they'll stop you. If you hide, they'll find you. And if you try to fight—" A pause. "Well, let's not." Lily whimpered against Elena's shoulder. Elena's arms tightened around her daughter, her mind screaming for options that didn't exist. "I'm going to count to 10, the man said. "Then I'm coming in. It'll be easier if you open the door." Elena's hands shook. She had no weapon, no plan, no way out. 1. She kissed Lily's hair. 2. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "It's going to be okay." 3. It wasn't okay. It would never be okay again. 4. She set Lily down gently, smoothing her daughter's hair. "Stay behind Mama, okay? No matter what." 5. Elena walked to the door. Her legs felt like lead. Her lungs couldn't seem to pull in enough air. 6. Her fingers touched the deadbolt. 7. She could still run, grab Lily and bolt for the trees and hope. 8. But hope was a luxury she'd burned through months ago. 9. Elena slid the deadbolt free, unwound the chain, pulled the brace from under the handle. 10. She opened the door. The man on the other side didn't look like a killer. He looked like money. Tailored black coat, dark hair swept back from a face that could have sold watches or cologne or anything else that required a camera to linger. Maybe 40, maybe younger. The kind of ageless that came from good genes and better resources. But his eyes, cold, calculating. The eyes of someone who'd seen terrible things and done worse. "Mrs. Cross," he said, his accent faintly European, Russian maybe. "Thank you for being reasonable." Elena said nothing. She didn't trust her voice. He glanced past her, his gaze settling on Lily. Something flickered across his face, too quick to read. "May I come in?" "Do I have a choice?" "No." He stepped inside without waiting for permission, bringing the cold with him. The 2 men from the SUV followed, flanking the door like sentries. Elena backed up, pulling Lily behind her. The man's attention swept the cabin. The peeling wallpaper, the propane heater, the stack of canned soup on the counter. He didn't sneer, didn't comment, just looked. Finally, his eyes returned to hers. "My name is Adrian Volkov. I believe you know why I'm here." "I don't know anything," Elena said quickly. "Whatever Marcus took, I don't have it. I don't even know what it was. I left him months before he—" "I know?" She blinked. "What?" "I know you don't have it," Adrian said calmly. "I know you left your husband. I know you've been running since he disappeared. I know everything, Mrs. Cross." Her throat went dry. "Then why are you here?" "Because you're in danger." A bitter laugh escaped her. "From you." "From everyone." Adrian unbuttoned his coat, revealing an immaculate suit beneath. "Your husband didn't just steal from me. He stole from the Italians, the Colombians, the Irish. He spread his theft across 6 organizations, and now all of them are looking for leverage, closure, someone to blame." "I didn't do anything." "It doesn't matter." His voice was flat, final. "You were his wife. That makes you complicit in their eyes. And your daughter—" He glanced at Lily again, and Elena's stomach dropped. "Children are useful for sending messages." Elena's vision blurred. "Please. She's 4 years old. She doesn't know anything. She can't—" "I agree." She stopped. "What?" Adrian studied her, his expression unreadable. "Your daughter is innocent. You are innocent. But innocence won't protect you. The people looking for you don't care about truth. They care about appearances, retribution, fear." "Then what am I supposed to do?" The words came out broken, desperate. "If running won't work, if hiding won't work, you stop running," Adrian said. You accept my protection. Elena stared at him. Why would you protect me? Because I can. He said it like it was obvious. Because I'm powerful enough that no one will touch you if I say you're mine. Because, unlike the others, I don't need revenge. I need stability, order, and right now you're a mess that's causing problems I don't have time for. So this is what? Charity? No. Adrian's eyes locked onto hers. This is a transaction. You stop being a target. I stop having to clean up the chaos your husband left behind. Everyone wins. Except I'd be in your debt. Yes. At least he was honest. Elena looked at Lily, who was peeking out from behind her legs, wide-eyed and silent. 4 years old. She should have been in preschool, playing with friends, learning to read, not hiding in frozen mountains because her father was a thief and her mother was a coward. What do you want from me? Elena asked quietly. Adrian's expression didn't change. Marry me. The room tilted. What? Marry me, he repeated, publicly, legally. Let the world see that you're under my protection, that you're part of my organization. No one will dare touch you after that. Elena's mind reeled. You're insane. I'm practical. You don't even know me. I know enough. Adrian's gaze was steady. I know you're desperate. I know you're running out of options. And I know that in approximately 2 weeks, the Italians will find this location. When they do, they won't be as polite as I am. Her hands were shaking again. This is insane. You can't just... I can. He stepped closer, his presence filling the small space. I can do whatever I want, Mrs. Cross. That's what power means. And right now, I'm offering you a choice. Marry me and live safely, or keep running and hope you make it to next month. That's not a choice. No, Adrian agreed. It's not. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the heater clicked and hissed. Lily's small hand gripped Elena's jeans. I need time to think, Elena said. You have 5 minutes. Her head snapped up. That's not 5 minutes, Adrian repeated. Then I leave, and you're on your own. Bastard. He knew she had no leverage, no options, no plan beyond surviving another day. And he knew she knew it. Elena looked at her daughter, at the fear in those big brown eyes, at the life she'd tried and failed to build from the wreckage Marcus had left behind. She'd spent 4 months running, 4 months in the cold and the dark and the constant gnawing terror that every sound was the end. 4 months watching her daughter fade a little more each day. And for what? To die anyway? To let Lily die because Elena was too proud or too stubborn to accept help from a man like Adrian Volkov? If I agree, she said slowly, what happens to Lily? She comes with us. She's protected. She's safe. And if I say no? Adrian's expression didn't change. Then you bury her yourself when they find you. Elena's breath caught, not because he was cruel, but because he was right. She'd known it for weeks. The cabin wasn't safe. The mountains weren't safe. Nowhere was safe. Not for men with resources and patience and a vendetta that wouldn't die. Running had been a fantasy, a desperate, stupid fantasy, and it was over. Okay, Elena whispered. Adrian's eyes narrowed slightly. Okay, I'll marry you. The words tasted like ash. But I have conditions. Name them. Lily doesn't get involved in your world. She doesn't see violence. She doesn't... Agreed. I want her to go to school, have friends, have a normal life. Done. Elena swallowed. And if I ever want to leave, you can't. Adrian's voice was flat. Once you're mine, you stay mine. That's the deal. That's the only way this works. Her stomach twisted. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. He tilted his head slightly. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Adrian stepped back, giving her space. A prisoner has no choice. You're choosing this. You're choosing safety over freedom. It's not pretty, but it's survival, and survival is all that matters. He wasn't wrong. Elena looked at Lily one more time. Her baby. Her whole world. When? She asked. Now. Adrian gestured to one of his men. Pack whatever you need. We leave in 10 minutes. 10 minutes? The Italians aren't the only ones looking for you. The longer we stay here, the more likely we are to have company I don't want. Elena's legs felt numb as she moved through the cabin, grabbing clothes, Lily's stuffed rabbit, the photo album she'd managed to save. It all fit in one duffel bag. 4 months of survival, reduced to 20 pounds of fabric and memories. Lily clung to her hand, silent and scared. Elena knelt down, cupping her daughter's face. "We're going somewhere new, okay? Somewhere warm. Somewhere safe." "With him?" Lily whispered, eyes darting to Adrian. Elena hesitated. "Yes." "Is he bad?" The question hit like a punch. Elena glanced at Adrian, who was speaking quietly to one of his men, his posture relaxed, his face unreadable. "Was he bad?" "Yes. Probably. Almost certainly. But he was also the only option she had left." "I don't know, baby," Elena said honestly, "but he's going to keep us safe. That's what matters." Lily didn't look convinced, but she nodded. They left the cabin together, stepping into the cold. The SUV waited, engine running, headlights cutting through the darkness. Adrian opened the back door, gesturing for them to get in. Elena paused, looking back at the cabin one last time. It wasn't much, but it had been theirs. "Mrs. Cross," Adrian said quietly, "we need to go." She climbed into the SUV, Lily curled against her side. The door closed with a heavy thunk, sealing them inside. Adrian slid into the front passenger seat. "Drive." The vehicle moved, crunching through snow, leaving the cabin behind. Elena watched it disappear through the rear window, swallowed by trees and darkness. Gone. Just like everything else. Lily fell asleep somewhere around the second hour, her head heavy on Elena's lap. Elena stroked her daughter's hair, staring out at the endless stretch of highway. Adrian hadn't spoken since they left. He sat perfectly still, his attention on his phone, fingers moving across the screen with the ease of someone used to controlling things from a distance. "Where are we going?" Elena asked finally. "Somewhere secure." "That's not an answer." Adrian glanced back at her. "You'll see when we arrive." "I agreed to marry you. The least you can do is tell me where you're taking us." He studied her for a moment, then turned back to his phone. "A private estate 2 hours north of the city. Gated, armed security. No one gets in or out without my approval." "Sounds like a prison." "Sounds like protection." Elena looked down at Lily. "And after? Once we're married, what then?" "Then you live your life," Adrian said, "within reason." "What does that mean?" "It means you're free to do what you want, as long as it doesn't compromise your safety or my reputation. You can decorate, read, watch television, raise your daughter. I don't care." "You don't care?" "No." He met her eyes again. "I'm not interested in controlling you, Mrs. Cross. I'm interested in removing a problem. Once you're no longer a target, you're no longer my concern. Then why marriage? Why not just hide us somewhere?" "Because marriage sends a message," Adrian said. "It tells every organization in this world that you belong to me. That touching you means touching me. And no one wants that fight. So I'm a statement. You're a solution." He turned back to his phone. "Learn the difference." Elena bit back a response. What was the point? She'd made her choice. She'd agreed to this. Now she just had to survive it. The estate appeared just before dawn, rising out of the landscape like something from a different world. High walls, iron gates, grounds that stretched farther than Elena could see in the dim light. The SUV passed through 3 separate checkpoints before finally pulling up to the main house. House. That was the wrong word. It was a mansion. Stone and glass and sprawling architecture that looked like it had been designed by someone who'd never worried about money a day in their life. "This is where you live?" Elena asked. Adrian climbed out. "This is where we live." The front door opened before they reached it. A woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled into a neat bun, stood waiting. She took one look at Elena and Lily and didn't blink. "Mrs. Petrov," Adrian said, "Bsms. This is Elena Cross and her daughter Lily. They'll be staying in the East Wing. Make sure they have everything they need." "Of course, Mr. Volkov." Mrs. Petrov's voice was crisp, professional. She looked at Elena. "If you'll follow me." Elena hesitated, glancing at Adrian. He'd already turned away, speaking to one of his men in rapid Russian. She followed Mrs. Petrov inside. The interior was exactly what Elena expected. Expensive, cold, and designed to impress. Marble floors, high ceilings, art that probably cost more than most people made in a year. It felt like a museum. Beautiful and untouchable. Mrs. Petrov led them up a staircase and down a long hallway. She opened a door to reveal a suite of rooms that could have fit Elena's entire cabin twice over. King bed, sitting area, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the grounds, and next door a smaller room already outfitted with a child's bed, toys, and shelves of books. Mr. Volkov had it prepared last week, Mrs. Petrov said. Elena stared. Last week? He's very thorough. The older woman's expression softened slightly. There are clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom. If you need anything else, use the phone by the bed. Someone will respond immediately. Thank you, Elena said numbly. Mrs. Petrov nodded and left, closing the door behind her. Lily stirred, blinking up at Elena. Mama, where are we? Somewhere safe, Elena said. She hoped it was true. She carried Lily to the smaller room and tucked her into the unfamiliar bed. Her daughter's eyes were already closing again, exhausted from the journey. Elena sat on the edge of the mattress, watching her daughter sleep. They were safe. For now. But safety had a price. And Elena was only just beginning to understand what she'd agreed to pay. Elena woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a disorienting moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it came back. The cabin. Adrian Volkov. The deal she'd made in the freezing dark. She sat up, her body stiff from tension she hadn't released even in sleep. The room around her was too clean, too perfect, like a hotel suite designed by someone who'd never actually lived in a home. Lily. Elena bolted out of bed and rushed to the adjoining room. Her daughter was still asleep, curled around her stuffed rabbit, dark hair splayed across the pillow. Safe. Breathing. Whole. Elena's knees went weak with relief. A soft knock came from the hallway. Elena turned as Mrs. Petrov entered carrying a tray. Good morning, Mrs. Cross. I brought breakfast. I wasn't sure what the child would eat, so I prepared options. The tray held eggs, toast, fruit, juice, and what looked like homemade pastries. More food than Elena had seen in months. Thank you, Elena said. Thank you. Mrs. Petrov set the tray on the table by the window. Mr. Volkov has meetings this morning. He asked me to inform you that someone will be here at noon to discuss arrangements. Arrangements? For the wedding, the older woman said it like she was scheduling a dentist appointment. There are clothes in the closet if you need them. Your sizes were estimated, but alterations can be made quickly if necessary. Elena opened her mouth, then closed it. Of course, Adrian had already gotten her sizes. The man probably knew her blood type and social security number too. Mrs. Petrov moved toward the door, then paused. If I may offer some advice, Mrs. Cross? Sure. Don't fight him on the small things. Mr. Volkov is particular about certain matters, but he's fair. If you need something for your daughter, ask. He'll provide it. And if I need something for myself? Mrs. Petrov's expression didn't change. Ask anyway. You might be surprised. She left before Elena could respond. Lily woke an hour later, confused and clingy. Elena held her while she cried, whispering reassurances that felt hollow. They ate breakfast together on the bed, Lily picking at the food with the wariness of someone used to scarcity. Where's the mean man? Lily asked. He's not mean, baby. He's just serious. He has scary eyes. Elena couldn't argue with that. They spent the morning exploring the suite. The closet, as promised, held clothes. Multiple outfits in Elena's size, ranging from casual to formal. All expensive. All understated. The kind of wardrobe that said wealth without screaming it. Lily's room had more toys than any child could need. Books lined the shelves, organized by age range. The closet held tiny dresses and practical play clothes, and a winter coat that probably cost more than Elena's car. It was perfect. It was terrifying. At noon precisely, another knock came. Elena opened the door to find a woman in her 30s, blonde hair pulled back, tablet in hand, smile professional. Mrs. Cross, I'm Lauren. I'll be coordinating the wedding. May I come in? Elena stepped aside. Lauren entered with the efficiency of someone used to working in this house, setting her tablet on the table and pulling up a chair. We have 4 days, Lauren said. Mr. Volkov wants something simple but public. A ceremony at the estate chapel, followed by a reception. Approximately 200 guests. Elena's stomach dropped. 200? Business associates, mostly. People who need to see the marriage happen. Lauren swiped through her tablet. We'll need to finalize your dress today. Hair and makeup trial tomorrow. Guest list approval by end of day. Oh, and you'll need to sign these. She produced a stack of papers. Elena stared at them. What are they? Prenuptial agreement, standard protection clauses. You should read them, but the summary is simple. You get a stipend, housing, and security in exchange for maintaining the marriage. If you leave, you forfeit everything except a one-time settlement. How much? $2 million. Elena's vision blurred. That's generous, yes. Mr. Volkov believes in clear terms. Lauren's smile didn't waver. Do you have a lawyer you'd like to consult? I don't have anything. Then Mr. Volkov will provide one. Someone independent to ensure you understand what you're signing. It should have felt considerate. Instead, it felt like being managed. The next 3 days passed in a blur of measurements and decisions Elena didn't care about. The dress? Ivory silk, simple lines, nothing like the wedding she'd imagined as a girl. The flowers? White roses, because Lauren said they photographed well. The menu, the music, the seating chart for people Elena had never met and never wanted to. Adrian was absent through all of it. She saw him only once, late on the second night, when she couldn't sleep and wandered downstairs looking for water. He was in his office, door cracked, light spilling into the hallway. Elena meant to walk past, but something made her stop. He sat behind a massive desk, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled to his elbows. 3 monitors glowed in front of him, displaying spreadsheets and documents and security feeds. He looked focused, tired, human. You can come in, Mrs. Cross. Elena jumped. He hadn't looked up. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. Adrian's eyes finally lifted from the screens. Can't sleep? Lily had a nightmare. It was partially true. Lily had woken up crying, confused about where she was. Elena had soothed her back to sleep, but her own mind wouldn't settle. Adrian gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. It wasn't really a request. Elena sat. Up close, she could see the lines around his eyes, the shadow of stubble on his jaw. He looked older than he had in the cabin. More worn. Are you having second thoughts? He asked. About marrying a man I met 4 days ago? Yes. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Fair. Why are you doing this? Elena asked. Really? You could have just killed me, or paid someone else to deal with me. Why marriage? Adrian leaned back in his chair, studying her. Do you know what happens when you kill someone in this world, Mrs. Cross? People stop asking questions. No. People start asking questions. Who did it? Why? Who benefits? Kill you, and I invite speculation. Marry you, and I control the narrative. So it's about control. Everything is about control. He said it without apology. Your husband understood that. He just wasn't very good at maintaining it. Elena's jaw tightened. Don't compare me to Marcus. I'm not. He was reckless, stupid. You're neither. You don't know me. I know you kept your daughter alive for 4 months in conditions that would have broken most people. I know you didn't panic when I showed up at your door. And I know you're smart enough to recognize when you're out of options. Adrian's eyes held hers. That's enough. The silence stretched. Outside, wind rattled the windows. What happens after? Elena asked quietly. After what? The wedding. When all your business associates have seen me. When the message is sent. What happens to me and Lily? Adrian's expression didn't change. You live here. Raise your daughter. Stay out of trouble. That's it? That's it. And you? I run my business, manage my interests, occasionally attend dinners where you'll be expected to appear at my side and smile. Elena laughed, a bitter sound. So I'm a prop. Your protection, Adrian corrected, for both of us. You get safety, I get stability. It's mutually beneficial. Nothing about this is mutual. No? Adrian tilted his head. You agreed to the terms. You signed the papers. You're choosing to be here. Because the alternative was death. Yes. He didn't flinch. But it's still a choice. Elena wanted to throw something at him, wanted to scream that choices made under threat weren't really choices at all. But what was the point? He knew that. He just didn't care. I should get back to Lily, she said. Mrs. Cross. Adrian's voice stopped her at the door. If you need anything for your daughter, school supplies, toys, activities, tell Mrs. Petrov. It will be handled. Why? Because she's a child, and children shouldn't suffer for their parents' mistakes. Elena studied him, searching for the trap, but his expression was unreadable. Thank you, she said finally. He nodded once and returned to his screens. The wedding day arrived too fast. Elena stood in front of the mirror while two women she'd never met fussed with her dress. The silk fit perfectly, skimming her body in ways that felt too intimate for a transaction disguised as marriage. Lily sat on the bed, swinging her legs, wearing a white dress with a ribbon sash. She looked like a flower girl from a catalog. Happy. Oblivious. You look pretty, Mama. Elena's throat tightened. Thank you, baby. Is today the day you marry the scary man? His name is Adrian, Elena said. And yes. Will he be my daddy now? The question hit like a fist. Elena knelt down, careful not to wrinkle the dress, and took Lily's hands. He's going to take care of us, she said carefully. But if you don't want to call him daddy, you don't have to. What should I call him? Whatever feels right. Lily considered this with the seriousness only a 4-year-old could manage. Okay, Lauren appeared in the doorway, headset on, tablet glowing. 5 minutes, Mrs. Cross. Mrs. Cross. Soon that would actually be true. Elena stood, smoothed her dress, checked her reflection one last time. The woman staring back looked calm, composed. Nothing like the terrified mother who'd opened her cabin door less than a week ago. It was a good mask. She'd need it. The chapel was small, tucked into the east corner of the estate grounds. Elena had expected something cold and impersonal, but someone had filled it with candles and flowers and soft light that made everything feel almost warm. Almost. The guests filled the pews, men in expensive suits, women in designer dresses, all watching with the polite interest of people attending a merger, not a marriage. Because that's what this was. A business arrangement dressed up in white silk and roses. Adrian waited at the altar, hands clasped in front of him, expression neutral. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than Elena's car. He looked exactly like what he was, powerful, controlled, untouchable. The music started. Elena walked down the aisle alone. No father to give her away. No friends to stand beside her. Just her and Lily, who clutched her hand and walked carefully, concentrating on not tripping. Adrian's eyes tracked her approach. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his gaze when he looked at Lily, too quick to identify. Elena reached the altar. Lily let go of her hand and scurried to sit in the front pew next to Mrs. Petrov, who handed her a small stuffed bear. The officiant began speaking. Standard words: love, honor, commitment. All the promises that meant nothing in a marriage like this. Elena's responses came automatically. I do. I will. I promise. All lies wrapped in legal binding. Adrian's vows were equally hollow. His voice was steady, his eyes on hers, his words perfect and meaningless. The rings, the officiant said. Someone produced them. Simple platinum bands, no stones, nothing flashy. Adrian slid one onto Elena's finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Elena took the other ring, her hands shaking slightly. She slid it onto Adrian's finger, completing the circuit. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the guests applauded politely. You may kiss the bride. Adrian stepped closer. Elena's breath caught. He leaned in, and for a second she thought he might actually do it. But at the last moment he shifted, pressing his lips to her cheek instead. Brief, chaste, completely impersonal. Done, he murmured against her skin. They turned to face the crowd. Smiles, cameras, people already moving toward the reception hall. Elena felt nothing. The reception was worse. Endless conversations with people whose names Elena forgot immediately. Business associates who smiled too much and asked questions that felt like tests. Women who looked at her with curiosity or pity or barely concealed disdain. Adrian stayed at her side through it all, his hand resting on the small of her back, warm and proprietary. Playing the part of devoted husband with the ease of someone who'd perfected the art of performance. "Smile," he said quietly during one conversation. Elena forced her lips to curve. "Better." She wanted to hit him. Dinner was 7 courses of food she barely tasted. Speeches from men who talked about Adrian's business acumen and leadership. Toasts to their future happiness. All of it fake. All of it necessary. Finally, mercifully, it ended. The guests filtered out into the night. Lily had fallen asleep hours ago, carried upstairs by Mrs. Petrov. Elena stood on the terrace, breathing in cold air, feeling the weight of the ring on her finger. "You did well." She turned. Adrian had followed her outside, jacket discarded, tie loosened. He looked almost relaxed. Almost. "I lied to a room full of strangers and pretended to be happy," Elena said. "That's not doing well. That's surviving." "Same thing." "No, it's not." Adrian moved to stand beside her, looking out over the dark grounds. "The hard part is over." "Is it?" "Yes. You're officially under my protection now. Anyone who comes after you has to go through me first, and no one wants that fight." Elena laughed bitterly. "So I'm safe because everyone's afraid of you?" "Yes." At least he was honest. "What now?" she asked. "Now you settle in. Make this place home, raise your daughter." "And you?" "I go back to work." Adrian glanced at her. "I have a trip planned. Eastern Europe. I'll be gone 3 weeks." Something in Elena's chest loosened. Space, distance. Time to figure out what her life looked like now. "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow." "That fast?" "I delayed it for the wedding. Can't delay it any longer." He straightened. "Mrs. Petrov will handle anything you need. Security stays in place. Don't leave the estate without clearing it first." "So I'm still a prisoner." "You're still protected," Adrian corrected. "Learn the difference." He left her on the terrace, disappearing into the house without another word. Elena stood alone in the cold, twisting the ring on her finger. Mrs. Adrian Volkov. The name felt like a caller. The first week after Adrian left was strange. Elena expected relief. Freedom. Instead, she felt unmoored. The estate was huge and empty and filled with people who worked for her husband, guards, housekeepers, gardeners, staff she didn't know how to talk to. Lily adjusted faster. She discovered the library, the playroom, the gardens. She asked endless questions and made friends with Mrs. Petrov's cat and seemed to forget they'd ever lived anywhere else. Children were resilient like that. Elena wandered the house, learning its rhythms. Breakfast at 8, guards changing shifts at noon and midnight, deliveries on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the housekeeper who hummed while she worked, the chef who left samples in the kitchen for Lily. It felt like living in a machine, everything efficient, everything scheduled, everything running smoothly, whether Elena participated or not. On the 5th day, she found Adrian's office unlocked. She shouldn't have entered. It was an invasion of privacy, a violation of boundaries she didn't fully understand yet, but she walked in anyway. The space was exactly as she remembered. Massive desk, multiple monitors, shelves lined with books in 3 different languages. But now she noticed other things. The photo on the shelf, half hidden. A young Adrian with an older woman, both smiling. His mother, maybe. The worn paperback tucked between legal texts. The coffee mug with a faded logo. Small things. Human things. Evidence that Adrian Volkov was more than just the cold, controlled man who'd bought her safety with a wedding ring. "Can I help you, Mrs. Volkov?" Elena spun. One of the guards stood in the doorway. Young, dark-haired, expression carefully neutral. "I was just looking," Elena said. "Mr. Volkov doesn't like people in his office." "Mr. Volkov isn't here." The guard's expression didn't change. "I'll let him know you were here when he calls." It was a polite threat. Elena lifted her chin. "You do that." She left the office, heart pounding, feeling foolish and angry, and something else she couldn't name. Adrian called that night. Elena was reading Lily a bedtime story when Mrs. Petrov knocked softly. "Phone call for you, Mrs. Volkov. Mr. Volkov on the line." Elena's stomach tightened. She finished the story, kissed Lily goodnight, and took the phone in the hallway. Hello? I hear you were exploring. Adrian's voice was clear despite the distance, faintly amused. Your guard tattled. My guard did his job. Elena leaned against the wall. Are you angry? No, curious. A pause. Find anything interesting? You read Dostoevsky. You sound surprised. I am. Why? Because I'm a criminal? There was an edge to his voice now, something sharper. Because you're busy, Elena said. I wouldn't think you had time for Russian literature. The tension eased slightly. I make time for things that matter. Does anything matter to you besides control? Silence. Then, how's Lily? The subject change was obvious. Elena let it happen. Good. She likes the library. Good. Another pause. I'll have books sent. Age-appropriate ones. You don't have to... Don't... I know. The line went quiet. Elena could hear background noise, voices, movement, the distant sound of traffic. Wherever Adrian was, it wasn't quiet. When are you coming back? The question slipped out before she could stop it. 2 weeks. Maybe less if things go well. And if they don't? Then longer. Adrian's voice softened slightly. You'll be fine, Elena. It was the first time he'd used her first name. I know, she said. Good night. The line went dead. Elena stood in the hallway, phone in hand, feeling something shift in her chest, something uncomfortable and unwelcome. She didn't want to care when Adrian came back, but apparently part of her did. The second week was easier. Lily started school, a small private academy 20 minutes away with security that cleared every arrival and departure. She came home chattering about new friends and art class and a teacher who let them have story time on the carpet. Normal, safe. Everything Elena had wanted. Elena found her own rhythm too. Mornings in the library. Afternoons with Lily. Evenings alone, reading or walking the grounds or simply existing without fear. It should have been enough. But the estate felt empty, too big, too quiet. She missed having someone to talk to. Not Adrian, she barely knew him, but another adult. Someone who understood the strangeness of this life. On Thursday, Mrs. Petrov found her in the garden, staring at nothing. You're lonely, the older woman said. Elena didn't deny it. Is it that obvious? You have the look. Mrs. Petrov sat on the bench beside her. I had it too, when I first came here. You've worked for Adrian a long time. 15 years. Why? Mrs. Petrov smiled faintly. Because he saved my life. Elena turned to look at her. What? My husband owed money. Bad people. They were going to kill us both. She folded her hands in her lap. Mr. Volkov paid the debt. Gave us protection. Gave me a job. What happened to your husband? He died anyway. Heart attack 3 years later. Mrs. Petrov's expression didn't change. But I'm still here. Still safe. That's what matters. Don't you ever want to leave? Where would I go? She looked at Elena. This is my home now. It could be yours too if you let it. I didn't choose this. Neither did I, but we're here. Might as well make the best of it. She stood, smoothing her skirt. Mr. Volkov called earlier. He'll be back Sunday. Elena's heart jumped. He told you that? He tells me everything. Mrs. Petrov smiled. He wants to make sure the house is ready. He's bringing guests. What kind of guests? The kind you'll need to dress for. She left Elena sitting in the garden, mind racing. Adrian returned on Sunday exactly as promised. Elena heard the cars first, multiple engines, heavy doors slamming. She was in the library with Lily when Mrs. Petrov appeared. Mr. Volkov is back. He'd like to see you in his office. Elena's stomach nodded. Now? When you're ready. She settled Lily with a book and headed downstairs, smoothing her sweater, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. She looked tired, nervous. She hated that he could do that to her. Adrian's office door was open. He sat behind his desk looking exactly as he had 3 weeks ago, controlled, focused, untouchable. But when Elena entered, his eyes lifted and something in his expression softened. Elena, you wanted to see me? Yes. Sit. She sat, hands folded in her lap, waiting. Adrian studied her for a moment. You look well. So do you. It was true. He looked rested, almost relaxed. The trip went well, he said. Deals were made, relationships strengthened. I'll need you for dinner tomorrow night. What kind of dinner? Business associates. People who need to see that the marriage is legitimate. Of course. Back to performing. I'll be ready, Elena said. Good. Adrian leaned back in his chair. How's Lily? Happy. She loves school. And you? The question caught her off guard. What about me? Are you settling in? Elena hesitated. I'm trying. That's all I ask. He pulled open a drawer and produced a small box. I brought you something. He slid it across the desk. Elena stared at it. What is it? Open it. She did. Inside was a phone, new, expensive, already activated. Your number is programmed in, Adrian said. So is mine, securities, Mrs. Petrov's, anyone you might need. Why? Because you should be able to reach people if you need to. He met her eyes. And because you deserve privacy. That phone is yours. No one monitors it. Elena looked down at the device, something tight in her chest loosening. Thank you. You're welcome. She stood to leave, but his voice stopped her. Elena? She turned. Adrian's expression was unreadable. I meant what I said at the wedding. You're protected now. Anyone who tries to touch you answers to me. I know. Good. He returned his attention to his computer. Dinner tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Wear something formal. Dismissed. Elena left the office, phone in hand, feeling like she'd just survived something she didn't fully understand. The dress hung in Elena's closet like an accusation. Black silk, backless, the kind of thing that cost more than she used to make in a month. She stared at it, wondering who'd selected it, who decided this was appropriate for a woman playing the role of mafia wife at a business dinner. Mrs. Petrov knocked and entered without waiting for permission. You'll need help with the zipper. Elena turned. I can manage. No, you can't. That is why I'm here. The older woman's tone left no room for argument. Arms up. Elena complied, feeling like a child being dressed for school. The silk slid over her skin, cool and foreign. Mrs. Petrov's fingers worked the zipper, tugging it into place with practiced efficiency. There. Now sit. Hair and makeup. I don't need... Mr. Volkov's guests expect a certain presentation. You represent him now. Mrs. Petrov guided Elena to the vanity chair. It's armor, Mrs. Volkov, not decoration. The words settled somewhere deep. Armor. Maybe that's what all of this was. The dress, the makeup, the performance of being someone she wasn't. 20 minutes later, Elena barely recognized her reflection. Her hair fell in soft waves. Her eyes looked larger, darker. Her lips were the color of wine. She looked expensive, untouchable, perfect. He's waiting downstairs, Mrs. Petrov said. Elena found Adrian in the foyer checking his watch. He wore a black suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. When he looked up and saw her, something flickered across his face. Too quick to read. You look beautiful. The compliment felt transactional. Thank you. The guests are already in the dining room. Smile, be polite. You don't need to say much. He offered his arm. Ready? No. Yes. They walked together into the dining room and Elena's stomach dropped. 8 men sat around the long table, all middle-aged, all watching her with the kind of interest that made her skin crawl. She recognized the type, powerful, entitled, used to taking what they wanted. Adrian's hand settled on the small of her back, warm and possessive. Gentlemen, my wife, Elena. The men stood, murmuring polite greetings. Elena smiled, nodded, let Adrian guide her to her seat at his right hand. Dinner was excruciating. The conversation flowed around her in 3 languages, English, Russian, something that might have been Italian. Business talk, territory disputes, shipments and percentages and deals that Elena understood just enough to know she shouldn't be hearing. She pushed food around her plate and smiled when expected and tried not to exist too loudly. Your wife is quiet, Volkov, one of the men said. Silver hair, sharp eyes, accent thick. Is she always this obedient? Adrian's expression didn't change. Elena knows when to speak and when to listen, a rare quality. The words should have insulted her. Instead, they felt protective, a warning wrapped in a compliment. "And the child?" another man asked. "I heard you married a woman with baggage." Elena's spine stiffened. Adrian's hand found hers under the table, squeezing once. A message. "Let me handle this." "Lily is 4 years old," Adrian said calmly. "Hardly baggage. More of an unexpected bonus. You always did have unusual tastes." "I have practical tastes." Elena needed protection. I needed stability. It's a fair exchange. Adrian lifted his wine glass. "And the arrangement has proven more pleasant than anticipated." The men laughed, a sound that made Elena's stomach turn. They thought she was a transaction, a problem Adrian had solved with money and marriage. They weren't wrong. The dinner dragged on. Dessert, coffee, cigars that filled the room with smoke. Elena excused herself as soon as she could, retreating to the terrace for air. The night was cold, but she welcomed it. Anything to wash away the feeling of being examined, evaluated, priced. "I apologize for them." She turned. Adrian had followed her outside, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up despite the temperature. "Why? You didn't say anything wrong. I reduced you to an arrangement in front of men who already don't respect women. That was careless." Elena laughed bitterly. "That's what I am, though. An arrangement. You said it yourself." "Yes, but you didn't deserve to hear it said like that." Adrian moved to stand beside her, looking out at the dark grounds. "They're old school, traditional. They think women exist to be wives or whores, nothing in between. And you, what do you think?" He was quiet for a moment. "I think you're stronger than any of them. I think you survived 4 months in conditions that would have killed most people. I think you made an impossible choice to protect your daughter, and you've handled this life better than I expected." He glanced at her. "That's what I think." The words hit harder than they should have. Elena swallowed against the sudden tightness in her throat. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I put you in that room. I made you perform." Adrian's jaw tightened. "But it's necessary. They needed to see you, see us together, see that you're mine." "I'm not yours." "Legally, you are." "That's not the same thing." "No," Adrian agreed. "It's not." Silence settled between them, broken only by the distant sound of laughter from inside. The dinner was still going, would probably go for hours. "You should go back," Elena said. "They're your guests." "They're business, not guests." But Adrian straightened anyway, buttoning his cuffs. "You don't need to rejoin us. Mrs. Petrov will see you upstairs." "What about you?" "I'll finish the night. Make sure everyone leaves happy." His eyes met hers. "Lock your door tonight." Elena's heart skipped. "Why?" "Because some of those men drink too much and forget boundaries. And I'd rather not kill anyone in my own house." He said it so casually, like murder was an inconvenience, not a horror. "You're serious. Always." Adrian started toward the door, then paused. "Elena, you did well tonight. Better than I had any right to expect." He left her on the terrace, alone with the cold and the dark and the sick realization that this was her life now. Performing for dangerous men. Taking compliments from a husband who'd bought her like property. Living in a gilded cage with locks on the inside. She went upstairs and locked her door, just like he'd said. The sounds from below went on until almost 3 in the morning. The next few weeks fell into an uneasy pattern. Adrian worked. Elena existed. They saw each other at meals sometimes, passing in hallways, brief exchanges that felt more like reports than conversations. "How's Lily?" "Good." "School?" "She likes it." "Do you need anything?" "No." "Fine." It was easier than talking, safer than getting close. But something was shifting. Small things Elena noticed despite herself. Adrian started coming home for dinner more often. Not every night, but enough that Lily began asking if he'd be there. He never ate with them, always claimed he had work, but he'd appear in the doorway sometimes, watching them with an expression Elena couldn't read. "Why does he do that?" Lily asked one night after Adrian had disappeared again. "Do what, baby?" "Watch us. He looks sad." Elena's chest tightened. "I don't think he's sad. Just thinking." "About what?" "Good question." The following Tuesday, Elena found him in the library. She'd come looking for a book. Hadn't expected to find Adrian sprawled in one of the leather chairs, reading glasses perched on his nose, absorbed in something that looked dense and academic. He glanced up when she entered. "Sorry, I can leave if you, No, stay." He marked his page. "Looking for something specific?" "Just something to read." "Fiction or nonfiction?" "Fiction, I guess. Something that's not about crime or violence or—" She stopped. "Sorry." "For what?" "I just insulted your entire life." Adrian's mouth curved slightly. "My life is insulting. You're not wrong." He stood, moving to one of the shelves. "Try this." He handed her a worn paperback. Elena looked at the cover. "You've read this?" "3 times. It's a romance novel." "It's a good story." Adrian returned to his chair. "Don't confuse genre with quality." Elena stared at him, this man who killed people and ran criminal empires and apparently read romance novels in his spare time. "You're not what I expected," she said. "Neither are you." She should have left, should have taken the book and gone upstairs. Instead, she sat in the chair across from him. "What did you expect?" she asked. Adrian considered the question. Someone weaker, more fragile, someone who'd break under pressure. "Maybe I did break. You just can't see it." "No. Broken people don't keep fighting. They give up." He studied her over his reading glasses. "You haven't given up." "I got married to survive. That's pretty close to giving up." "That's adapting. There's a difference." Elena pulled her legs up, tucking them beneath her. "Do you ever get tired of it?" "Of what?" "This life, the violence, the constant control." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. "Every day." The honesty surprised her. "Then why do you keep doing it?" "Because stopping means dying. Or worse." He removed his glasses, setting them aside. "I was born into this world, Elena. My father ran the organization before me. His father before him. By the time I understood what it meant, it was too late to choose differently." "You could walk away." "No, I couldn't." His voice was flat. "The moment I try to leave, I become a liability. Someone to eliminate before I talk, or turn, or compromise what's been built. There's no retirement in this business, just death." Elena absorbed that. "So you're trapped too?" "Yes, just in a bigger cage." The vulnerability in his voice made something crack in Elena's chest. She'd spent weeks thinking of Adrian as the monster who'd stolen her choices. But sitting here, seeing the exhaustion in his eyes, hearing the resignation in his words, he was just a man. Powerful, yes. Dangerous, absolutely, but still trapped by circumstances he hadn't chosen, just like her. "I'm sorry," she said. Adrian's eyes lifted. "For what?" "That you didn't get a choice either." Something shifted in his expression, softened. "Neither of us got what we wanted, but we're both still here. Is that enough?" "It has to be." They sat in silence, the library quiet except for the ticking of the old clock on the mantel. Outside, rain began to fall, pattering against the windows. "You should go check on Lily," Adrian said finally. "She had a nightmare last night." Elena's head snapped up. "How did you know that?" "I heard her crying around 2. Your room is on the other side of the house." "I don't sleep much." He picked up his book again, dismissing her. "Make sure she's warm enough. The east wing gets cold when it rains." Elena stood slowly, clutching the book he'd given her. "Adrian?" He looked up. "Thank you for the book." "You're welcome." She left him there, reading in the dim light, looking more alone than anyone should ever look. That night, Lily woke screaming. Elena was in her room in seconds, gathering her daughter into her arms. "It's okay, baby. I'm here. You're safe." "There were monsters," Lily sobbed. "Big ones with scary teeth, and they were chasing me and—" "Shh. It was just a dream. Just a dream." But Lily wouldn't calm down. Her whole body shook, tears soaking Elena's nightshirt. Elena tried everything, singing, rocking, turning on every light in the room. Nothing worked. A soft knock came at the door. Elena turned to find Adrian in the hallway, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, hair disheveled. He looked almost human like this. Mortal. "I heard—" He stopped when he saw Lily's tear-streaked face. "Another nightmare?" Elena nodded, helpless. Adrian stepped into the room carefully, like he was approaching something wild. Lily, can you tell me about the monsters? Lily hiccuped, peeking at him from Elena's shoulder. They were big and mean. How big? Really big. Like trees. That is big. Adrian moved closer, crouching down to Lily's eye level. Can I tell you a secret? Lily nodded hesitantly. Monsters are actually afraid of little girls. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Because little girls are brave and smart, and they don't give up. Monsters hate that. He pulled something from his pocket, a small stuffed bear, worn and faded. This is Boris. He's very good at scaring away monsters. Would you like to borrow him? Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really. But you have to promise to take care of him. I promise. Adrian handed over the bear. Lily clutched it immediately, her sobs quieting to sniffles. There, Adrian said softly. Boris will keep watch tonight. No monsters allowed. Thank you, Lily whispered. You're welcome, little one. He stood, his eyes meeting Elena's over Lily's head. Try to sleep, both of you. He left as quietly as he'd come. Elena stared at the space where he'd been, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. She looked down at the bear in Lily's hands, old, obviously cherished, clearly something Adrian had owned for years, and he'd given it away without hesitation, to comfort a child who wasn't even his. Mama? Lily's voice was drowsy now. Is Adrian nice? Elena's throat tightened. Yeah, baby. I think maybe he is. Lily fell asleep minutes later, the bear tucked under her chin. Elena stayed, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall, trying to reconcile the man who'd threatened her in a mountain cabin with the man who'd just given away his childhood toy. She couldn't. They were the same person, and that terrified her more than anything. The next morning, Elena found Adrian in the kitchen, drinking coffee and reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered. How's Lily? Still asleep, with Boris. Elena poured herself coffee, searching for the right words. That was, thank you, for last night. She needed help. I provided it. It was more than that. Adrian's expression was unreadable. Was it? You gave her something that mattered to you. It's just a toy. No, it's not. Elena sat across from him. Where did you get it? He was quiet for a moment. My mother gave it to me when I was 6, right before she died. Elena's breath caught. Adrian, I can't. You should take it back. It's too important. It did its job for me. Now it can do its job for her. He set down his tablet. Besides, it's been sitting in a drawer for 30 years. At least this way it's useful. But, Elena, his voice was gentle. Let it go. Lily needs it more than I do. She wanted to argue, wanted to make him take back the piece of his past he'd handed over so easily, but the look in his eyes stopped her. He meant it. Okay, she said quietly. They sat in silence, drinking coffee, the morning sun streaming through the windows. It felt almost normal, almost domestic, almost like they were a real couple instead of two people bound by a contract and mutual survival. I have to travel again, Adrian said finally. Next week, 4 days, maybe 5. Elena's stomach dropped, and she hated that it did. Where? South America. Cartel meeting. Can't be avoided. Is it dangerous? Everything I do is dangerous. He looked at her. Will you be all right here? We've been fine before. That's not what I asked. Elena met his eyes. I don't know. Ask me when you get back. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe, or recognition that something had changed in the weeks since the wedding, something neither of them had planned for. I'll call, Adrian said, every night, to check in. You don't have to. I know, but he would anyway. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. Adrian left for South America on a Tuesday morning. Elena and Lily watched from the window as his car disappeared down the long driveway. When's he coming back? Lily asked. Soon, baby. I hope he comes back. He will. Elena hoped she was right. The first 2 days were fine. Adrian called like he'd promised, brief conversations about nothing important. Lily's school, the weather, whether Elena needed anything, surface talk, safe talk. On the 3rd day, He didn't call. Elena told herself it didn't matter. He was busy. Something had come up. It was fine. But when the fourth day came and went with no word, fear started creeping in. She tried his number. It went straight to voicemail. She asked Mrs. Petrov if she'd heard anything. The older woman's face went carefully blank. "I'm sure he's fine, Mrs. Volkov. Mr. Volkov is always fine." But she didn't sound convinced. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to imagine worst-case scenarios. Trying not to care that her husband, her fake husband, her business arrangement husband, might be hurt, or worse. Trying not to admit that somewhere along the way, she'd started feeling something for the man who'd forced his way into her life. At 2 a.m, her phone rang. Elena grabbed it, heart pounding. Unknown number. "Hello? Elena." Adrian's voice was rough, strained. "I'm sorry I didn't call." Relief flooded through her so intensely she felt dizzy. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Things got complicated. I couldn't get to a secure line." "Complicated how?" "Don't worry about it." That's not an answer. He was quiet for a moment. There was a disagreement. It's handled now. A disagreement, which probably meant violence, blood, things Elena didn't want to imagine. "When are you coming home?" The word slipped out before she could stop it. "Home. Tomorrow. Late afternoon." Adrian's voice softened. "How's Lily?" "Missing you. She keeps asking when you're coming back." "Just her?" The question hung in the air between them. Elena's heart hammered. "No," she admitted quietly. "Not just her." Silence. Then, "I'll be home tomorrow." "Okay." "Elena?" "Yeah?" "Lock your door tonight." He hung up before she could ask why. Elena locked her door and lay awake until dawn, wondering when Adrian's safety had started mattering more than her own. He returned the next day, exactly as promised. Elena heard the cars and ran downstairs before she could talk herself out of it. She reached the foyer just as Adrian walked in, and her breath caught. He looked exhausted. His suit was wrinkled, his jaw was shadowed with several days of stubble, and his knuckles were bruised and split. Their eyes met across the space. "You're hurt," Elena said. "It's nothing." "Your hands are bleeding." "I said it's nothing." But he didn't move away when she crossed to him, taking his hand carefully, examining the damage. "You should clean these." "Later." "Now." Elena looked up at him. "Unless you want Lily to see?" Adrian's expression shifted. "Where is she?" "School. She'll be home in an hour. Then I have time." He let Elena guide him to the kitchen, let her run his hands under warm water, let her dab antiseptic on the cuts. He didn't flinch, didn't complain, just watched her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "What happened down there?" Elena asked. "Nothing you need to know about." "That's not fair." "Fair?" Adrian's laugh was bitter. "Nothing about this is fair, Elena. I dragged you into my world, made you my wife, put you in danger just by association. Fair doesn't exist here." "Then why did you do it?" "Because I'm selfish." He pulled his hand away, flexing his fingers. "Because I wanted you safe and under my control, and I didn't care what it cost you." "That's not true." "Yes, it is." Adrian stood, moving to the window. "Everything I do is about control. That's all I know." Elena set down the bandages and moved to stand beside him. "You gave Lily your mother's bear. That wasn't about control. That was about kindness. Or manipulation. Do you believe that?" He didn't answer. Elena reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. "Adrian, look at me." He turned slowly. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried, the cost of being the man everyone feared. "You're not just what you do," she said quietly. "You're not just violence and control and fear. You're also this. The man who reads romance novels and calls to check on us and gives away pieces of his past to comfort a scared little girl." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Don't make me into something I'm not." "I'm not. I'm just seeing what's already there." He stared at her, something vulnerable and raw flickering across his face. Then he stepped back, rebuilding his walls. "I need to shower. Change. I have calls to make." "Adrian, Thank you for bandaging my hands. He left the kitchen without looking back. Elena stood alone, her heart aching for reasons she didn't want to examine. Lily came home an hour later and launched herself at Adrian with the kind of joy that nearly knocked him over. You're back! You're back! Adrian caught her, his expression transforming into something soft. I'm back, little one. Did you take care of Boris? He slept with me every night. He's really good at scaring monsters. I told you he was. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck. I missed you. Adrian's eyes met Elena's over Lily's head. I missed you too. And Elena realized with sudden, terrifying clarity this wasn't pretend anymore. Somewhere between the forced marriage and the business dinners and the quiet moments in libraries, something real had started growing. Something dangerous. Something neither of them knew how to stop. 2 weeks passed in a strange kind of peace that made Elena more nervous than the chaos had. Adrian worked from home more often, appearing at dinner, asking about Lily's day, sometimes joining them in the library afterward. He never pushed, never demanded, just existed in their space like he belonged there. And maybe he did. Lily had stopped calling him the scary man. Now it was just Adrian, said with the easy affection of a child who'd decided someone was safe. She showed him her drawings, asked him to read her stories, climbed into his lap when she was tired without thinking twice about it. Adrian handled it all with a gentleness that broke something in Elena's chest every time she witnessed it. She's getting attached, Elena said one night after Lily had fallen asleep between them on the library sofa. Boris clutched in one hand, her head on Adrian's shoulder. Adrian looked down at the sleeping child, his expression unreadable. Is that a problem? I don't know. What happens if this ends, if something happens to you or what? Nothing's going to happen to me. You can't promise that. No. He carefully shifted Lily's weight, standing with her in his arms. But I can do everything in my power to make sure she's protected. That you both are. Elena followed him upstairs, watching as he laid Lily in her bed with a care that seemed impossible for a man with his reputation. He pulled the blanket up, smoothed her hair back, adjusted Boris in the crook of her arm. Then he just stood there, looking at her like he was trying to memorize something. Adrian? Elena whispered. He didn't turn. I never wanted children. Never saw the point. This life is too dangerous, too unstable. Why bring someone innocent into it? But she makes me wish things were different. His voice was rough. That I was different. Elena's throat tightened. You're good with her. Better than her real father ever was. Adrian finally looked at her. Marcus was a fool for leaving you both. Marcus was a thief and a coward who only cared about himself. Yes, he was. Adrian moved toward the door, pausing beside her. But he gave you Lily, so maybe he did one thing right. The words hit harder than they should have. Elena followed Adrian into the hallway, her heart hammering. Why are you being nice to us? He stopped, his back still to her. What? You didn't have to do any of this. The books for Lily, the phone for me. Boris. Coming home for dinner, you could have just locked us in this house and ignored us completely. So why? Adrian turned slowly, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. Because I'm tired of pretending this is just a transaction. What else would it be? I don't know. He stepped closer. But I know that I think about you when I'm supposed to be working. I know that Lily's laugh is the best sound I've heard in years. I know that coming home to you both is the only thing that makes this life feel like it's worth living. Elena's pulse was racing. Adrian, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I'm not demanding you feel the same way. I need you to know that this isn't pretend for me anymore. That somewhere between the cabin and now, it became real. She should have been terrified. Should have put distance between them, reminded him this was a business arrangement, nothing more. Instead, she closed the gap and kissed him. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tentative. It was months of tension and fear and reluctant connection finally breaking free. Adrian's hands came up to frame her face, his kiss deepening, and Elena felt something inside her crack wide open. This was dangerous, reckless, everything she'd sworn not to do. But she couldn't stop. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. Elena, don't. She pulled back, her hands shaking. Don't say it was a mistake. Don't apologize. Just don't. I wasn't going to apologize. His thumb brushed her cheek. I was going to ask if you wanted to do it again. A laugh escaped her, half hysteria, half relief. We can't. Lily's right there, and we barely know each other, and this whole thing is insane. Yes to all of that. Adrian's eyes searched hers. But I still want to kiss you again. This is a bad idea. The worst. We should stop. Probably. Neither of them moved. Then Lily called out from her room, voice thick with sleep. Mama? The spell broke. Elena stepped back, her face flushing. I should go. I'll see you in the morning. Elena fled to Lily's room, her heart still racing, her lips still tingling, her mind screaming that she'd just made everything infinitely more complicated. But when she checked on Lily and returned to her own room, she couldn't stop smiling. The next morning was awkward in the way only shared secrets could make things. Elena came down to breakfast to find Adrian already at the table, coffee in hand, reading the news on his tablet. He looked up when she entered, and something electric passed between them. Good morning. Morning. Elena poured herself coffee, hyper-aware of every movement. Sleep well? Not particularly, you? Same. They looked at each other, and Elena felt heat creep up her neck. This was ridiculous. They were adults. They'd kissed. It wasn't... About last night, Adrian started. We don't have to talk about it. I think we do. He set down his tablet. Because I meant what I said. This is real for me. And if it's not for you, I need to know now so I can... It's real for me too, Elena said quietly. Adrian's expression shifted. Yeah, I don't know what that means or where this goes, but yes, it's real. The tension in his shoulders eased. Okay. They sat in silence drinking coffee, the morning sun warming the kitchen. It should have been uncomfortable. Instead, it felt like the first honest moment they'd shared since the wedding. I have meetings today, Adrian said finally, but I'll be home for dinner, if that's... We'd like that. His smile was small but genuine. Good. Mrs. Petrov appeared in the doorway, her expression knowing. Mr. Volkov, your 9 o'clock is here. Adrian stood, straightening his tie. He paused beside Elena's chair, his hand brushing her shoulder briefly. Tonight, she agreed. He left, and Elena sat alone in the kitchen, trying to process what had just happened. She'd fallen for the man who'd forced her into marriage. The man who killed people for a living. The man who was everything she should run from. But he was also the man who'd given his mother's bear to her daughter, who called every night when he traveled, who looked at Elena like she mattered. And maybe that was enough. Or maybe she was losing her mind. Either way, there was no going back now. The day passed in a haze of normalcy. Elena took Lily to the park on the estate grounds, watched her play, tried to ignore the armed guards positioned at every exit. Lily didn't notice them anymore. They'd become part of the landscape, as normal as trees or benches. That should have bothered Elena more than it did. When they returned to the house, a package was waiting in the foyer. Elena's name on the label, no return address. What is it? Lily asked. I don't know, baby. Elena picked it up carefully. It was light, wrapped in plain brown paper. Mrs. Petrov appeared. Mr. Volkov had it sent for you. He said to open it before dinner. Elena's heart did something complicated. She carried the package upstairs, Lily trailing behind, curious. Inside was a book. Not just any book. A first edition of something Elena had mentioned loving once, weeks ago, in passing conversation she hadn't thought Adrian was listening to. He'd been listening. The note inside was brief, written in Adrian's precise handwriting. You said you lost your copy when you left Marcus. Thought you might want it back. A. Elena sat on the bed, clutching the book, something warm and terrifying spreading through her chest. This man, this complicated, dangerous, impossible man. She was falling for him, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Dinner that night was different. Adrian actually sat with them, ate with them, asked Lily about school and listened to her rambling stories with genuine interest. He caught Elena's eye across the table and smiled, and it felt like a secret they were sharing. After dinner, after Lily was in bed, they found themselves in the library again. This time, when Adrian sat beside her on the sofa, it felt natural. Right. Thank you for the book, Elena said. You're welcome. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Adrian shifted to face her. Elena, I know this started as a transaction, protection for compliance, safety for performance, but it's not that anymore. At least not for me. What is it then? I don't know. Something new. Something I didn't plan for and don't know how to handle. He took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. But I want to figure it out, if you do. Elena looked at their joined hands, his scarred and bruised, hers small in comparison. I'm scared. Of me? Of this. Of caring about someone who lives the way you do. Of Lily getting more attached and then losing you. Of getting hurt. Yes. Adrian pulled her closer, his arm around her shoulders. I can't promise I won't hurt you. This life is unpredictable and violent, and there are no guarantees, but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to protect you. Both of you. Even if it costs me everything. That's not reassuring. It's honest. Elena leaned into him, letting herself take comfort in his warmth, his steadiness. What if I can't do this? What if I'm not strong enough for your world? You survived 4 months in a frozen cabin with a toddler and no resources. You made an impossible choice to save your daughter. You've handled business dinners with men who would have eaten you alive if they sensed weakness. Adrian pressed a kiss to her temple. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. No one does. We just pretend until it becomes real. They sat in silence for a while, Elena's head on Adrian's shoulder, his fingers playing with her hair. It was the most peaceful she'd felt in months. Adrian, what happens if they come back? Who? The people looking for me, for what Marcus stole. You said marriage would send a message, but what if it's not enough? Adrian's arm tightened around her. Then I deal with it. How? However I need to. The certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it made her feel safe. That probably said something terrible about who she was becoming. 3 days later, everything changed. Elena was in the garden with Lily when one of Adrian's men approached, his expression grim. Mrs. Volkov, you need to come inside, now. Elena's stomach dropped. What's wrong? Just come with me. Bring the child. She gathered Lily quickly, following the guard back to the house. Mrs. Petrov met them at the door, her face pale. Mr. Volkov is in his office. He asked for you immediately. Elena's heart hammered as she handed Lily to Mrs. Petrov. Keep her upstairs. Don't let her come down. She found Adrian in his office, surrounded by 4 men she didn't recognize. His expression when he looked at her was carved from stone. Out, he said to the men. All of you. They left without question. What's happened? Elena asked. Adrian moved to the window, his back to her. The Italians made a move. They found out about a shipment coming through the port, intercepted it, killed 3 of my men. Elena's blood ran cold. I'm sorry. It gets worse. He turned to face her. They're saying it was revenge. For me, protecting you. For harboring Marcus Cross's widow. But you told them the wedding was supposed to send a message. It did. They just decided to send one back. Adrian's jaw tightened. They want you, Elena? Not dead. Worse, they want to use you to send a message about what happens when someone protects their enemies. Elena's legs went weak. What are you going to do? I'm going to war. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. What does that mean? It means I'm going to eliminate the threat, permanently. Adrian moved closer. But first, I need to get you and Lily somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't reach you while I handle this. You're sending us away. Yes. For how long? As long as it takes. Elena's mind raced. Adrian, you can't just, this is your life, your business. If you go to war over me, then I go to war. His voice was steel. You're my wife. Lily is under my protection. That means something in this world, and I'll burn down anyone who tries to take what's mine. The possessiveness in his tone should have scared her. Instead, it made her chest ache. People will die. Yes. Because of me. Because of them. Adrian cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. This isn't your fault, Elena. You didn't steal from them. You didn't start this war, Marcus did, and now I'm going to finish it. What if you don't come back? I will. You can't know that. No, but I can promise I'll fight like hell to make sure I do. He kissed her forehead. Pack a bag. You leave in an hour. Elena's hands shook. Where are we going? A safe house. Remote. Heavily guarded. No one knows about it except my most trusted people. Adrian stepped back. Mrs. Petrov will go with you. You'll be safe there. And you? I'll do what needs to be done. Elena wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was insane, that going to war over her wasn't worth it, that he should just give her to the Italians and save himself. But she knew he'd never do it. And part of her, the part that had started caring about this complicated, dangerous man, was grateful. How long do we have? She asked. An hour. Maybe less. Adrian's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry, Elena. I thought the marriage would be enough. I was wrong. You tried. That's more than anyone else would have done. I should have done more. Elena stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him. He stiffened for a moment, then pulled her close, his face buried in her hair. Come back to us, she whispered. I will. Promise me. I promise. She didn't know if he could keep that promise, but she believed he'd try. The next hour was chaos. Packing bags, explaining to Lily they were going on a trip, watching armed men load SUVs with enough weapons to start a small war. Lily cried, confused and scared, not understanding why they had to leave so suddenly. Elena held her daughter and lied. It's an adventure, baby, like camping. We'll be back soon. But what about Adrian? He has to work, but he'll come see us when he's done. If he survived. Adrian appeared in the doorway as they were finishing. He looked at Lily, something crossing his face too fast to read. Then he crossed the room and knelt in front of her. Lily, I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that? Lily nodded, tears on her cheeks. Good girl. Adrian pulled Boris from his pocket. When had he retrieved it? And pressed it into her hands. Boris is going to keep you safe while I'm working. He's very good at that. But you need him. No, you need him more. Adrian's voice was gentle. Take care of him for me, okay? And take care of your mother. She's going to need you to be strong. Okay. Lily threw her arms around his neck. Come back soon. Adrian's arms tightened around her. I will, little one. I promise. He stood, lifting Lily and handing her to Mrs. Petrov. Then he turned to Elena. The safe house is 3 hours north. You'll have everything you need. Don't leave. Don't contact anyone. Just wait for me. Adrian, I know. He pulled her into his arms, his kiss fierce and desperate. I know. Me too. He didn't say the words. Didn't have to. Elena felt them in the way he held her, the way his hands shook slightly as he let her go. Be safe, she managed. You too. Then they were in the car, pulling away from the estate, and Elena watched through the rear window as Adrian stood in the driveway, alone and still, until the trees swallowed him from view. The safe house was everything Adrian had promised. Remote, secure, equipped with enough supplies to last months. But it felt like a tomb. Elena spent the first night pacing, checking her phone obsessively for news, messages, anything. Nothing came. Mrs. Petrov tried to comfort her. Mr. Volkov is very capable. He's survived worse. Has he? The older woman's silence was answer enough. The second day, Lily asked when Adrian was coming. Elena didn't have an answer. The third day, Elena stopped sleeping. Every sound was a threat. Every shadow was an enemy. She jumped at nothing and everything, her nerves frayed to breaking. On the fourth day, her phone rang. Unknown number. Elena's hands shook as she answered. Hello? It's done. Adrian's voice. Rough, exhausted, but alive. Elena's knees buckled. She sat hard on the floor, tears streaming down her face. You're okay? I'm alive. The rest is relative. He coughed, and Elena heard pain in the sound. The Italians are no longer a problem. Neither are the Colombians or the Irish. Anyone who wanted to use you as leverage is either dead or too scared to try. Adrian, I know. It's a lot. I'll explain when I see you. His voice softened. I'm coming to get you, tomorrow. Can you wait one more day? Yes, of course. Good. A pause. Elena, I meant what I said. I'll always come back to you. I know. I love you. The words hit like lightning. Elena's breath caught. What? I love you. I should have said it before I left, but I was afraid it would make things harder. But I need you to know, in case... Don't. Elena's voice broke. Don't say in case. You're coming back. You promised. I'm coming back, Adrian agreed. And when I do, I want to start over. Do this right. Not as a transaction or protection, but as something real. It's already real. Then let's make it permanent, not just legally, actually. Elena closed her eyes, tears falling freely now. Okay? Okay? Yes. Okay. I love you too. She heard his sharp intake of breath. Say it again. I love you, Adrian. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow. The line went dead. Elena sat on the floor, phone clutched in her hand, and let herself cry. Not from fear this time. From relief. From joy. From the terrifying realization that she'd fallen completely in love with a man who'd just gone to war for her. A man who was coming home. Adrian arrived the next afternoon, looking like he'd been through hell. His face was bruised, his knuckles were worse than before. He moved stiffly, clearly hurt, but trying to hide it. None of that mattered. The moment Lily saw him, she bolted, screaming his name. Adrian caught her, wincing but smiling as she wrapped herself around him like a vine. You came back! You came back! I promised, didn't I? Adrian's eyes found Elena's over Lily's head. I always keep my promises. Elena crossed to him slowly, taking in the damage, the exhaustion, the evidence of what he'd done to keep them safe. How bad? She asked quietly. I'll live. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting today. Adrian set Lily down gently. Go pack your things, little one. We're going home. Lily ran off, chattering to Mrs. Petrov about everything she wanted to show Adrian when they got back. Elena and Adrian stood facing each other in the sudden quiet. You went to war for me, Elena said. Yes. People died. Yes. And you do it again. In a heartbeat. Adrian stepped closer, cupping her face. I told you. You're mine. Both of you. And I protect what's mine. Even if it destroys you? Even then. Elena searched his eyes, seeing the truth there. The violence, the cost, the absolute certainty that he'd burn the world down before he let anyone hurt her or Lily. It should have terrified her. Instead, she kissed him. Let's go home, she whispered against his lips. Yeah, let's go home. They drove back to the estate together, Lily asleep between them, the sun setting behind them. Adrian's hand found Elena's, their fingers lacing together. It wasn't perfect. It was built on violence and blood and choices no one should have to make. But it was theirs. And for now, that was enough. The estate felt different when they returned. Quieter, maybe. Or perhaps Elena was just seeing it through different eyes now. Not as a prison, but as the place where her life had fundamentally changed. Adrian spent the first 3 days in recovery, his body protesting the violence it had endured. He tried to hide it, but Elena saw the way he moved carefully. The bruises darkening his ribs, the cuts that hadn't fully healed. She didn't ask for details. Didn't need to. The absence of threat spoke louder than any explanation could. On the fourth morning, she found him in his office, staring at his computer screen with an expression she couldn't read. You should be resting, she said. I've rested enough. Adrian glanced up. Come here. I want to show you something. Elena crossed to his desk. On the screen was a website, clean, professional, showing photos of a building she didn't recognize. What is this? A community center, downtown. They provide services for families in crisis. Housing assistance, job training, childcare, legal aid. Adrian leaned back in his chair. I've been funding them anonymously for 5 years. They don't know who I am or where the money comes from. Elena stared at him. Why? Because not everyone who needs help can afford the kind of protection I provide, and most people shouldn't have to. He pulled up another tab. Financial records, donations, receipts. I've been thinking about expanding it, opening centers in other cities, making it more than just money in an account. Adrian, that's amazing. It's practical. But his voice held something softer. I can't undo the things I've done. Can't wash the blood off my hands or pretend I'm anything other than what I am. But maybe I can balance the scales a little. Help people who remind me of you." Elena's throat tightened. People like me? People who got dealt a bad hand and are trying to survive anyway. People who need a chance. Adrian looked at her. "I want to build something legitimate. Something Lily can be proud of when she's older. Something that exists outside of this world." "You'd still run your other businesses?" "Yes. I can't walk away from that. But I can create something better alongside it." He stood, wincing slightly. "I want you involved, if you're willing." "Involved how?" "However you want. Oversight. Program development. You could work directly with the centers or stay behind the scenes. Your choice." Adrian moved closer. "I'm not asking you to run my criminal empire, Elena. I'm asking you to help me build something good. Something that matters." Elena's mind raced. "I don't have experience with that kind of work. You survived 4 months with nothing. You made impossible decisions to protect your daughter. You have more experience than you think." His hand found hers. "And you'd have resources. Staff. Whatever you need." It was crazy. Impossible. The idea of a mafia boss's wife running legitimate charity programs while he continued his criminal operations. But it was also the first time in years Elena had felt like she could do something that mattered beyond simple survival. "Yes," she said. "I want to help." Adrian's smile was genuine. "Good. We start next week." The work became Elena's lifeline. She threw herself into learning everything about the community centers, their programs, their needs, the families they served. She met with directors, reviewed budgets, visited locations, and slowly, something inside her that had been dormant for years began to wake up. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building something. Adrian watched it all with quiet pride, never interfering, always supporting. He attended meetings when asked, wrote checks without hesitation, and gave Elena complete freedom to shape the programs however she wanted. "You're good at this," he said one night after she'd spent 3 hours on the phone coordinating a new housing initiative. "I'm learning." "No, you're leading." Adrian set down his book. "The staff respects you. The families trust you. You're making a difference." Elena felt heat creep up her neck. "It's your money making the difference. Money is just money. You're the one turning it into actual change." He pulled her down beside him on the sofa. "I'm proud of you." The words hit somewhere deep. Elena leaned into him, letting herself take comfort in his warmth. "Thank you for giving me this." "You earned it." Adrian kissed her temple. "Besides, watching you find your purpose is better than anything I could have planned." They sat in comfortable silence until Lily appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Bad dream?" Elena asked. Lily nodded, climbing into Adrian's lap without hesitation. He wrapped his arms around her automatically, and Elena's heart clenched at how natural it looked. "Want to tell us about it?" Adrian asked gently. "The monsters came back, but Boris wasn't there." "Where was Boris?" "I forgot him at school." Lily's voice was small. "And the monsters knew." Adrian stood carrying her easily. "Let's go check your room. I bet Boris is right where you left him this morning." Elena followed them upstairs, watching as Adrian searched Lily's room with exaggerated thoroughness, checking under the bed, in the closet, behind the curtains. Finally, he produced Boris from between the pillows. "See? He was here the whole time, just sleeping." Lily clutched the bear. "He was? Of course. Boris would never leave you unprotected." Adrian tucked her back into bed. "And even if he did, you know what?" "What?" "You're brave enough to scare away monsters all by yourself now. Boris taught you how." Lily considered this seriously. "Really? Really? But he'll stay here anyway, just in case." "Okay." Lily yawned. "Adrian?" "Yes, little one?" "Are you my daddy now?" Elena's breath caught. Adrian went very still, his expression carefully neutral. "Do you want me to be?" he asked quietly. Lily nodded. "My other daddy left. But you didn't. You came back." Something crossed Adrian's face, pain maybe, or something deeper. He knelt beside the bed, eye level with Lily. "I will always come back," he said. "No matter what. That's a promise." "Then you can be my daddy." Adrian's eyes were suspiciously bright. "I'd be honored." He kissed her forehead, whispered goodnight, and left the room before Lily could see his composure crack. Elena found him in the hallway, leaning against the wall, his face in his hands. "Adrian?" "I'm fine," but his voice was rough. I didn't expect." Elena wrapped her arms around him. "She loves you." "I don't deserve it." "Maybe not, but you have it anyway." Elena pulled back to look at him. "You've been more of a father to her in 6 months than Marcus was in 4 years. She knows that, even if she can't articulate it yet." Adrian's hands framed her face. "I want to be better for her, for both of you. I want to be the man she thinks I am." "You already are." "No, I'm still the man who kills people, who runs criminal operations, who—" "You're also the man who gave her Boris, who checks for monsters, who's building community centers to help families like ours." Elena's voice was firm. "You're both things, Adrian, light and dark, good and terrible, and I love all of it." He kissed her then, deep and desperate, like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to something good. When they finally broke apart, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "Marry me again." Elena laughed. "We're already married." "I know, but that wasn't real. That was a transaction." He stepped back, taking her hands. "I want to do it right this time. Just us and Lily. No business associates, no performance. Just us." "Adrian, I know it's insane. I know we're already legally bound, but I want to make vows I actually mean. I want Lily there as our daughter, not just a child we're protecting. I want—" He stopped, searching for words. "I want it to be real in every way that matters." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Yes. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you again, for real this time." Adrian pulled her into his arms, and Elena felt something shift and settle in her chest. This was right. Complicated and messy and built on a foundation of violence and desperation, but right. They planned the ceremony for 3 weeks later, keeping it small and private. Just them, Lily, Mrs. Petrov, and a judge Adrian trusted. No guests, no cameras, no performance, just the truth. Elena chose a simple dress, cream-colored, nothing like the elaborate gown from the first wedding. Lily wore her favorite blue dress with flowers on it and carried Boris as her assistant. They stood by the lake on the estate grounds, the late afternoon sun turning everything golden. The judge read from a small book, his voice carrying across the water. But Elena barely heard him. She was too focused on Adrian, on the way he looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. When it came time for vows, Adrian pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote something," he said, his voice unsteady. "I'm not good with words, but just say what you feel," Elena whispered. He nodded, cleared his throat. "Elena, 6 months ago, I showed up at your door planning to solve a problem. I expected you to be weak, desperate, easy to control. Instead, I found the strongest person I've ever met." He paused, collecting himself. "You could have broken under the pressure, could have hated me for forcing this arrangement. Instead, you built a life here. You made this house into a home. You taught me that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choosing to show up, even when it's hard." Elena's tears spilled over. "I can't promise you an easy life," Adrian continued. "I can't promise I won't make mistakes, or that my world won't touch you sometimes. But I can promise I will always choose you, always protect you, always come home to you and Lily, no matter what it costs me." He folded the paper, his eyes meeting hers. "You saved me, Elena, from a life that had no meaning beyond survival, and I will spend every day I have left trying to deserve you." Elena's hands shook as she took the ring, a new one, chosen together, engraved with coordinates of the lake where they stood. "Adrian," she began, her voice breaking, "when you showed up at that cabin, I thought my life was over. I thought you were death coming to collect what Marcus had stolen. Instead, you were a second chance I didn't know I needed." She slid the ring onto his finger. "You're not an easy man to love. You're complicated and dangerous, and you've done things I'll never fully understand. But you're also kind and patient, and you love Lily like she's yours by blood. You gave us safety when we had nothing. You gave me purpose when I'd forgotten what that felt like. And you gave us a family when we were completely alone." Adrian's jaw tightened, his eyes bright. I choose you, Elena said firmly. Not because I have to, not because you protect us, or because leaving isn't an option. I choose you because you're the man I want beside me, the man I trust with my daughter's heart, the man who makes me believe that broken things can still be beautiful. She took his hands. I love you, all of you, even the parts that scare me, especially those parts because they're what make you fight so hard for the people you care about. The judge pronounced them married, but neither of them heard it. They were already kissing, holding each other like they'd survived something impossible and come out the other side transformed. Lily cheered, jumping up and down. You're married for real now. Adrian scooped her up, pulling Elena close with his other arm. We're a family for real now. We always were, Lily said, with the certainty of a child who knew truth when she saw it. She was right. The months that followed were the happiest of Elena's life. Not perfect. Nothing involving Adrian's world could be perfect, but real, honest, built on choice rather than necessity. The community centers expanded to 3 new cities. Elena hired staff, developed programs, personally visited families who'd been helped. She found her voice in board meetings, learned to navigate budgets and bureaucracy, discovered she was good at seeing what people needed and making it happen. Adrian supported it all while keeping his criminal operations separate. Elena knew what he did, knew blood still stained his hands. But he never brought it home, never let it touch Lily. And gradually he began transitioning more of his legitimate businesses to the forefront, building something his daughter could inherit without shame. Lily thrived. She made friends at school, joined a soccer team, learned to read, and then couldn't stop. She called Adrian Dad without thinking about it, and he answered like it was the most natural thing in the world. One evening, almost a year after the cabin, Elena found Adrian in his office, surrounded by papers. He looked up when she entered. What's all this? Legal documents. I'm restructuring everything. Adrian gestured to the stacks. The legitimate businesses are being transferred into a trust for Lily. The community centers get permanent endowment funding, and I'm putting safeguards in place so that if anything happens to me, you and Lily are protected. Elena's stomach tightened. Why are you talking like this? Because I'm not stupid. This life has an expiration date. Adrian stood, moving to her. I'm not planning on dying anytime soon. But I need to know you'll be okay if I do. Adrian, let me finish. He took her hands. I've spent the last year building something better, something that matters. But I can't walk away from everything I am. There will always be danger, always be enemies, and I need you to be prepared for that. Elena's eyes burned. I don't want to think about losing you. I know. But think about it anyway. Because if the worst happens, I need you to be strong. For Lily. For yourself. For everything we've built. Adrian's voice was gentle. You're not the scared woman in the cabin anymore, Elena. You're a leader, a mother, someone who changes lives. Don't forget that if I'm not here to remind you. Stop! Elena, no. I understand what you're saying. I understand the precautions, but I'm not going to spend our time together preparing to lose you. Elena cupped his face. We're going to live. We're going to keep building this life. And yes, we'll be smart about protecting Lily and securing our future, but we're not going to waste what we have on fear. Adrian's smile was small but real. When did you get so brave? I married a monster in a mountain cabin to save my daughter. I was always brave. I just forgot for a while. He laughed, pulling her close. I love you. I love you too. Now put those papers away and come have dinner with your family. My family? Adrian said it like he was tasting the words, finding them sweet. Yeah, okay. They walked to the dining room together where Lily was already setting the table with Mrs. Petrov's help, chattering about her day. It was ordinary and domestic and nothing like the life Elena had imagined. It was better. 2 years after the cabin, Elena stood in the newest community center, watching families move through the space she'd helped create. Children played in the recreation area, parents attended job training sessions, counselors worked with families in crisis, providing the kind of support Elena had desperately needed once. Adrian appeared beside her, Lily's hand in his. Their daughter was 6 now, confident and happy, wearing her soccer uniform with pride. The ribbon cutting went well, he said. It did. Elena smiled. Thank you for being here. Where else would I be? Lily tugged on his hand. Dad, can I go play with the other kids? Stay where we can see you. I will! She ran off, Boris tucked under her arm despite being too old for stuffed animals. She'd never let him go. Elena and Adrian stood together, watching the center bustle with life. Do you ever regret it? Elena asked quietly. Taking us in. Starting all this. Adrian's arm settled around her waist. Every day I wake up to you and Lily, I thank whatever force put me on that mountain road. Regret? Never. Even though it complicated your life? It didn't complicate my life, it gave me one. He turned her to face him. Before you, I was just surviving, going through motions, building power for the sake of power. You showed me there's more to life than control and fear. I didn't do anything special. You loved me anyway, despite knowing exactly what I am. That's not nothing. Adrian's eyes were serious. You could have gone through the motions, stayed married in name only, kept me at a distance. Instead, you chose to see me as human, to build something real with a man who didn't deserve it. You deserve more than you think. Maybe. Or maybe I just got lucky. He kissed her forehead. Either way, I'm not letting you go. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. They stood together, watching their daughter play, surrounded by the evidence of what they'd built from ashes and desperation. It wasn't the life Elena had planned. It wasn't safe or simple or anything she'd been taught to want. But it was hers, theirs. A family forged in impossible circumstances, held together by choices made every single day. That night, after Lily was asleep, Elena and Adrian sat on the terrace overlooking the lake. The same lake where they'd married for real. The same grounds where Elena had first realized she was falling for him. Do you think she'll understand someday? Elena asked. When she's older and realizes what you do, what you are. Adrian was quiet for a moment. I hope so. But if she doesn't, if she looks at me and sees only a criminal, he stopped, swallowing hard. I'll have deserved it. All I can do is be the best father I can be and hope it's enough. It will be. Elena took his hand. Because you show up every day, for both of us. That matters more than anything else. Does it? Yes. She squeezed his fingers. Love isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing someone despite their imperfections. About seeing their darkness and their light and deciding they're worth it anyway. Adrian pulled her close. You're wiser than I am. I just know what it's like to be seen as more than your worst moments. Elena rested her head on his shoulder. You gave me that. I'm just returning the favor. They sat in comfortable silence, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. Somewhere in the house, Mrs. Petrov was probably checking on Lily one more time. Security guards patrolled the grounds. Life continued in its complicated, imperfect way. Adrian? Elena said softly. Thank you. For everything. For the cabin. For the second chance. For loving us even when it was inconvenient. Loving you was never inconvenient. Loving you was the easiest thing I've ever done. He kissed the top of her head. Everything else was just logistics. Elena laughed. Only you would call going to war logistics. Accurate, though. Accurate, she agreed. They stayed on the terrace until the cold drove them inside, then checked on Lily together before retreating to their room. It had become their ritual, the three of them, a unit, checking in with each other at the end of every day. As Elena lay in bed that night, Adrian's arm around her, she thought about the woman she'd been in that frozen cabin. Terrified, desperate, convinced her life was over. That woman would never have believed this ending was possible, would never have imagined falling in love with the dangerous man at her door, would never have dreamed of building something meaningful from the wreckage of her past. But that woman hadn't understood yet that sometimes the worst moments are doorways to something better, that sometimes the monsters turn out to be protectors, that sometimes love grows in the spaces between survival and surrender. Elena understood now. Life was messy, love was complicated, family was whatever you built it to be, and sometimes the second chance you didn't ask for turns out to be exactly what you needed. She fell asleep smiling, safe in the arms of the man who'd once threatened her life and now gave it meaning. Outside, the world continued in all its violence and chaos. But here, in this room, in this house, in this family they'd created from nothing, here there was only peace and love and the quiet certainty that they would face whatever came next together. Because that's what family did. They showed up, they chose each other, they built something worth protecting, and they never ever stopped fighting for it. The end came not with drama, but with ordinary moments that added up to extraordinary lives. Lily grew up strong and compassionate, eventually taking over the community centers and expanding them nationwide. She knew what her father was, had made peace with it, and chose to honor his complexity by building on the good he'd started. Adrian gradually stepped back from his criminal operations, letting younger men take over while he focused on legitimate business and philanthropy. He never fully left that world, couldn't really, but he made sure it stayed separate from his family. Elena became a nationally recognized advocate for families in crisis, speaking at conferences, advising policymakers, changing systems from the inside. She never hid her past, never pretended to be anything other than a survivor who'd gotten lucky. And on quiet evenings, the three of them would sit by the lake, watching the sun set over water, and remember how it all began, with fear and desperation and an impossible choice, and how it transformed into something none of them could have predicted. Love, family, home. Not perfect, never perfect, but real. And in the end, that was all that mattered.